Hello, everybody. This is Tom Eckert here. You're listening to my podcast, Numerology, a GPS for the Soul. This is your place to learn about the true power of numerology and how to use it to bring out the best in yourself, understand your loved ones better, take wise decisions, and prepare for your future. In other words, how to live your life aligned with your true destiny. Take your time to educate yourself and share these podcasts with your friends and family so they too can enjoy the great benefits of numerology. Enjoy! Hello there, and welcome to all my listeners. Today we're going to explore a very fascinating topic, one of my favorite topics in fact, pertaining to personal years. Now, I've talked about personal years in previous episodes, but today we're really going to approach them from a different perspective, and we're going to look at how we can use them, but also in surprising ways that you possibly haven't thought about before. But before I jump into this topic, if you happen to be new to this podcast, and I want to welcome you to this podcast, here is a space to discuss numerology in an in-depth way, as a path of inner transformation and spiritual growth and self-understanding. My personal approach is to make numerology accessible, grounded, applicable, so you can use it for everyday life matters, from the most gross to the most subtle, to become more conscious, a more connected human being, to live a better life, more aligned with your soul and with your true purpose. Now, if you want to dive deeper into numerology, here are a few ways you can do so. First and foremost, you can book a numerology reading with me. In a professional numerology reading, you can ask any question that is burning in your life and get precise, personally tailored answers to you. You can read more about my readings and contact me through the link in the episode description to book your reading with me. Now, if you wish to study numerology on a deeper level, or perhaps even pursue it as a career or be deeply initiated into it, then first of all, I invite you to check out my numerology study paths, and there are two. First of all, check out my self-study numerology courses. They give you a rare opportunity to learn numerology online at your own pace, on your mobile device, your tablet, or your laptop. My library currently includes 2 self-study courses, and more are coming up. Now, if you want to be initiated into the really rare depths of numerology, you can sign up to my complete path of certification, where you study directly with me, one-on-one, all the way from a beginner numerologist to an expert numerologist, and get certified along the way. To read more, again, check out the links in the episode description. So I've already spoken of personal years in fact, 2 previous episodes, I believe. But today I want to approach this powerful method from a different perspective. I don't want to offer generalized insight into each personal year, into the yearly numbers from 1 to 9 and what it all means, because I've already done that. Rather, I want to offer a more insightful approach to working consciously with personal years. I want to explain how they can strengthen your personality and character, how they can give validation to things you're experiencing, and how to not limit yourself because of your personal year, among a few other things. Now, for those of you new to the concept of personal years, well, first I'd recommend listening to my episode about personal years. But generally speaking, a personal year runs from birthday to birthday. We call it the personal numerological year. And the cycle always goes from 1 to 9. Now, to calculate your personal year, all you need to do is reduce your upcoming or current birthday year to a single digit. So if you were born, for example, on April 20th, you'll write down April 20th, 2025, and reduce this into a single digit, right? So you have there, depending on where you come from, I live in Europe, some of you live in the United States, so you would write either 20th of April, right, 20/4/2025, or April 20th, 4/20/2025, and you simply reduce all of that into a single digit. Of course, there are some more advanced methodologies to be more precise about that, to get the more accurate double digit, but for now, we'll keep it at that. If you want to learn the more advanced method, you can either sign up to my online courses or to my in-depth studies. So that'll be your either current or upcoming personal year, depending if your birthday already took place or your birthday is still coming up. So one of the amazing powers of personal years that are less spoken about is that it can actually enhance personality traits. It can enhance your character. It can literally help you develop certain character strengths if you hear the calling to do so. Take as an example, personally, year number 1. Now, I'm not going to repeat myself about the meaning of this year. I created a whole episode about that, so you can go ahead and listen to it. But generally speaking, we think of year number 1 as a year of new beginnings and new ventures, initiatives. But what's so amazing about personal year 1 is that you can also use it to strengthen your sense of self-authority and personal autonomy. These are very, very important characteristics of anyone walking a path of spiritual wisdom, but also in general, for us being humans. These are important qualities. So you can consciously work with the energy of the year to improve on your ability to stand out and be independent in what you do and how you do it. I'm talking real character development here. Take personal year 6 as another example. If you feel that your heart has been too strict and judgmental, this particular year can work miracles in helping you soften and open your heart and hone in on your human skills. In other words, you can use the energy of each personal year to elicit and enhance character qualities you feel need strengthening or balancing. And this is a whole new way of approaching a personal year, not only as a doorway to some kind of external opportunities, but also as a doorway to really work on personality traits and character, to develop as a human from within. Now, of course, you'll need to learn the meaning of the numbers deeply, and you'll need to learn the meaning of the numbers as they pertain to personal years. Now, next thing has to do with universal support. But I'm not talking about something mystical here, but about something very down to earth, just like the seasons. If you want to plant, new flowers, better do it just in that transition period before spring. Not too early, not too late. And personal years are very much like the seasons. If you know them well, you know when to push, when to rest, when to insist, and when to patiently wait. Now, the beauty about this in the context of personal years is that if you ride their wave and speak their language, you're not just aligning with them, but also getting their support, like a nice solid backwind. If it's a personal year 7, as an example, and you decide to create spaces for retreat, meditation, and deep self inquiry, most chances are this personal year will help you make that space for that. It will literally be an active universal force that assists you in making it possible for you to withdraw and reflect, as this is the actual natural intention of that year. So as you work with it, you're suddenly invoking, if you will, a universal force of support. Now, another example, if you are in a year number 3 and you're trying to get pregnant, make no mistakes. This personal year, with its immense fertility, will support you. As you can see, I'm getting very, very, practical and pragmatic here. I'm talking about, pregnancy, right? So again, I want this to be down to earth, so you can see how you can actually use universal support for practical things. Now, this is a great way to work co-creatively with your personal years. It's also a way of realizing that when what you want aligns with what the universe wants, this is the winning formula and a win-win situation. If you want to look at you and the universe as separate beings, which in the end, you aren't. So it's just a win situation. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is clarity. You know how sometimes things happen in our lives in somewhat abrupt ways, things you don't understand, things that leave or may leave us, baffled and perplexed with many question marks. These can be painful and confusing events, but also simply unexpected changes that we don't exactly understand. And for us humans, knowing the purpose and meaning of things is very important. It gives us context, clarity, and confidence. And these create a sense of safety and understanding. And so let's say someone you know and care for suddenly distant themselves from you. Now, it's painful, and they didn't really give an explanation. You're left hurt and confused. This can actually haunt you for a while and make you feel bad about yourself, ask many questions. What have I done wrong? What has actually happened? It can also make you weary about the other person, judgmental, disappointed. But what if you know that it's your personal year 7 in play? Suddenly, it gives a totally different context to everything. For starters, as we've already mentioned earlier, the 7 personal year, wants you to create more alone space for you to meet yourself. Secondly, the 7 personal year wants you to learn the important lesson of saying goodbyes. It's an important lesson in life for all of us. Now, when you realize that, even though it may still be painful, I'm not denying the human emotion here, you will realize that it has a deep reason behind it. Nothing in your life and in life in general is happening without a purpose. And knowing this will immediately give you clarity and the ability to relax into your experience, accept it, grow through it, and move on with calmness. And this is a huge thing. We need meaning, we need context. It reframes our experience, and suddenly, people or events or things we classified as bad, as wrong, suddenly show themselves as part of the plan. And if we're sincere and honest, we will have to soften and accept. It's like it was part of the plan. and suddenly we have clarity. And as I've already said, clarity gives us a sense of confidence and reassurance that the path is unfolding the way it should. So the next point I want to talk about is actually a little bit might sound paradoxical to some of you. But before I say anything further, if you are enjoying this podcast and you want to keep learning more in-depth and grounded numerology, make sure to subscribe to my channel or follow it and turn on the notifications bell on the platform you're listening from. And make sure to become part of my community to support this work so I can keep recording materials for you guys and making this ever more approachable for people worldwide. And also, make sure to check out the comment section. Leave me comments, share your thoughts, ask me questions. It's an opportunity to connect. I will always attempt to answer as many comments as I possibly can. The best places to do so are YouTube or Spotify. Okay, my friends. So let's keep going. So the paradoxical point uh, I was mentioning earlier is actually an important one because people tend to misunderstand this particular approach to personal years. Some of us get overly attached to the year number. We become too dogmatic, and this can also be in general with numerology and numbers and so on. For example, people may believe that because they are now in a year number 4, they should not travel because, quote unquote, now is the time for hard work. Or if it's a year number 2, they may tell themselves, quote unquote, I shouldn't start a new project now because this year is not about new beginnings. You see what I'm saying? Because new beginnings, so to speak, belong to year number 1. In other words, we can sometimes become too rigid and conceptual with the way we approach personal years and numerology in general as a whole. Now, I want you to understand that life is in so many ways everything, everywhere, all at once. And even though we do have seasons, generally speaking, life is still multidimensional and dynamic. This means that if you're in a year number 4 and you and your partner, for example, want to take a lovely vacation trip, and you got the money and the time for it, then by all means, just don't hesitate. Book those tickets and go out there. Or if you are in a personal year number 5 and you realize that putting in some hard work can really enhance your business, don't be conceptual and say, oh no, a 5 year is not about hard work. It's about adventure and travel and so on. No, go ahead and put in the hard work. In other words, what I'm saying here is do not limit yourself because of the personal year you are in. Live life and live it non-conceptually. Personal years are a rather broad stroke. And they can accommodate many dynamic and creative movements. So the bottom line here is just, don't be extreme in your approach to personal years and to numbers. Just be wise. Approach it with intelligence. Lean into the number, but don't make it some kind of, you know, uh, some kind of like dogmatic, fixed energy that you should like abide by in like some kind of religious, way, because that's not what it's about. Now, to counter my very last point that I just made. Again, I love sort of moving between, polarities and create like paradoxality because reality is always paradoxical. It's so multidimensional happening everything happening at once, and we have to sort of walk these fine lines, right? So to counter my last point, right, or possibly be more paradoxical and balanced, I want to say personal years do have a certain flavor. You want to blend in non-conceptually, yes, but also non-violently. Now, what do I mean by that? It's a bit like, hey man, like read the room. You know, if it's a party, don't try to turn it into a philosophical debate, and vice versa, right? If it's like a meditation group taking place, don't try to turn it into a trance party. You see what I'm saying? Personal years have a frequency, a vibe, and you don't want to go against the stream. That's violent towards yourself and towards life. So, in being non conceptual, you also want to be free enough in your mind to not be unnecessarily stubborn and rebellious. It anyhow won't work. So, read the room. Or, in other words, read the vibration of the personal year you're in and try to dance with it, enjoy it, blend with it, merge with it. And in that merging, you can find plenty of room for flexibility. But definitely don't try to force something to happen that is really out of tune. Don't try to sow spring flowers during winter just to make a point. Don't work against the flow of the personal year. You see? Now, again, maybe you hear this and you're saying, wait, Tom, but you just told us that we can, do things that are not exactly abiding to the numbers, frequency. And I say, yeah, that's true. You'll have to be wise here. This is not you're not some kind of computer, like a binary, black or white being. You are a flow. You are a living phenomenon, and you will need to strike the fine lines and know when you're sort of like crossing beyond that line where, okay, now I'm trying really hard to do something against the stream, and when I'm also trying to limit myself when actually things are possible. You see what I'm saying? You'll need to be wise here. And this is part of the journey, by the way, of numerology, of initiation, right? Of growth in wisdom and in spirit. Now, the last thing I want to bring to your attention is the potent event in which a personal year is identical to one of your sacred triad numbers, namely your life path, your expression, or your soul urge numbers. These are, to me, always the grand three. Now, in such an event, we know that a fundamental and important part of your being and journey is both being activated and being given more opportunities to experience itself fully. And because your sacred triad has everything to do with your destiny and core journey in this lifetime, such years can be more potent than others. This can be even more so when the number is completely identical. For example, if your personal year is a 23-5 and your expression number happens to be a 23-5, this is you know, fully identical to the double digit that makes up the 5. Now, if the year was a 32-5 or just a 5, everything I say here would still be valid, but it will be more sharp and powerful and potent when completely identical, including that double digit that composes the single digit. Now, in order to make full use of this powerful time, you want to learn the numbers well and the meaning and function of your core locations, right? And this is, again, something you can do with my self-study courses, or if you feel that deep calling, in my in-depth studies. Now, this way, you'll be able to tell what exactly is being activated. In a personal year number that is identical with your life path number, for example, you might have a wonderful opportunity to align with the highway of your destiny, to recalibrate and root yourself deeper on your soul's path. I love using personal years in my work. In fact, it's one of my favorite sort of practices, and I also love teaching it to my students. In my in-depth studies, I expose my students to very, very advanced techniques that are not found anywhere else except in the human body method, and that are strikingly accurate and creative, and reveal so many details about, right, every year in one's life, and the energies and the opportunities and the emotional sort of composition of the year, and everything from relationships to career to whatnot. It's a very creative technique, and what's more is that in comparison to cycles and pinnacles, personal years are actually really tangible. You can really feel their effects and work with them consciously. You can also know where you're going to and where you came from as part of a cycle, right? From 1 to 9, and to make sense of your process as a whole. So, this is definitely one of my favorite timing techniques in numerology, and I highly recommend diving deeper into this one and making it a regular practice, because this one is really not only about understanding your character, which is what we're used to use numerology for, but actually about aligning with the changing tides. And that's, sort of learning to use numerology as a form of conscious movement with life. And before we wrap this one up, if you've enjoyed this episode and want to keep learning in-depth numerology and support my work, make sure to, follow and subscribe to my channel, turn on the notifications bell on the platform you're listening from, and make sure to become part of my community. Also, remember, as mentioned before, to check out the comment section, leave a comment, become part of the conversation. The best way to do so is on YouTube, that allows for an ongoing conversation, or on Spotify. Now, don't forget, if you want to experience numerology, then check out my Professional Numerology Readings. It's an incredible way to really get the feeling of how accurate numerology is and how deep and how touching. And also, if you want to study it and dive deeper, then definitely check out my, self-study numerology courses. Or if you want to go really deep, then my in-depth numerology certification studies that will really allow you to acquire a mastery of the method. My friends, what a joy to share with you yet another episode, as always, really. And I wish you well. And as always, I'll see you in the next episodes. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, and you want to go deeper into numerology, check out my website, tom-eckert.com. You can also book a numerology reading or even study numerology yourself through my courses. I'll see you in the next episode.